Good morning. Welcome to Riding on 22 Fives. Today we're going to talk about something that usually don't get talked about here on YouTube, on the channels that I've seen, and that's the importance of checking to see that if your community has building requirements or not. I was told when I moved here that we didn't have a building department and there was no need for permits and so forth because they didn't check. And I believe that because it came from a reputable builder around, apparently not so reputable builder. And the structure you see behind me was the first thing that I did when I got here. The structure on this side is hot water solar, and the structure on this side is photovoltaic panels for electricity for the house. We did the hot water system first, so it was put up in two stages. Again, assuming that we didn't need to be permitted to do that. You really need to check before you start getting into a big project like this with your community. Even though you may be out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like I am here, there still may very well be a building department and may be some requirements. Not only a permit for the actual structure, but you also may be required to fit into some sort of zoning regulations, which I found out later that we did as well. I put the hot water heater system up first, again without a permit, and later when I went to put the photovoltaic panels up, the power company told me that before they would hook the system up or commission the system, that I would need to have the permit from the building department of this county. So I started researching and got to the place, found the number for the building department, and lo and behold, we were required to have both zoning and building permits for this structure you see behind me. It turned out to be quite a hassle because the building permit department wanted to have an engineered drawing of the structure itself. And that's something I didn't have. This is something that I put together. I felt like it was quite sufficient to hold the stuff, but they had to have some sort of technical information saying that yes, that would stay there if the wind got to be 90 miles an hour, or it got to be 3 feet of snow on it, or whatever. And I understand that. I was in the wrong and did what I needed to do to get in good standing with the building department, which included having to hire this engineer. He came to the place and looked at the structure and wanted to know exactly what we needed, and I told him. He also called the building department and found out that they basically just needed a piece of paper saying that yes, this structure would stand up in case of bad weather or high snow loads. He did some calculations and provided them with the paperwork, and we were good to go. So I went ahead and installed the photovoltaic panels at that point. As far as the zoning part goes, it turns out that just the edge of the hot water panels were, the top corner was just over the line, just a tiny little bit. the right of way. There's a road up there behind the panels. And they come out and they looked, and of course, I'm in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like there was big trucks or high traffic, or it was impeding the view of drivers or anything. And after much consideration, they went ahead and approved the zoning permit for that as well. And I'm quite grateful for them for doing so. They really could have made me at least take the corner of this thing down and move it down to the lower side. So that's my story about the building permits. Whatever you do, check with your community and make sure that you're covered in putting something like this up. It can get rather nasty. They do have the power to fine you and do that kind of stuff. And it's just really not worth it. They are, most places, it appears, are really quite helpful in helping you build or get through some of the issues that you might have. They have lots of good ideas. They have access to a lot of materials that we regular citizens wouldn't have, for sure. So it is a good idea to let them be involved. We'll talk a little bit about being off-grid as well. I've always had the dream of being like an off-grid, shoving it to the guy and not being hooked to the grid at all. But I guess in my old age, I've kind of got over that. And from the research, I've discovered that being tied to the grid just really isn't such a bad idea, especially when it comes to the electric part. My electric company, I have not had any power outages that lasted of any amount of time. They're rather good at getting the power back on. So being off-grid was not that big a consideration for me. In fact, I really didn't care much about having a generator sitting around and having a generator running and having to listen to that. So the electric panels you see behind me have all got microinverters, and it is a grid-tied system. It's a very simple way of getting connected and actually cutting your power bill to nothing. My power bill normally runs about $8 and something, and that is not for electricity use, but that's for just being connected to the grid. So I basically pay a tariff every month of $8 and something to be hooked up. And I'm quite fine with that, because a generator, as you know, is probably a good bit more expensive. The PV system is a very simple system, and we'll do another video on that. We'll go through the whole system and show you just how simple it really is to be a grid-tied PV system. So for that, again, please consider getting your building department involved in your project and do things the right way and stay out of trouble down the road. If you found something helpful in this video, hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.